Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7. Apologies for the little break over the weekend. In all honesty, November's been a pretty full-on month, so I just wanted to kind of just take some time away, try and avoid any burnout and such that can happen when you're kind of doing this stuff each and every day. So finally, we're going to continue on with the car reviews for 1.40, this time with the hero car of the update, the Porsche 911 GT3 RS 992 generation, finally entering the game after what seems like absolutely forever of people asking. So in terms of the price point for this vehicle, it's rather inexpensive, especially considering the sheer amount of credits that are on offer in GT7 and probably the amount that we've all saved up at the minute. So 340,000 credits for this one, not really going to break the bank. 656 pp, as you can see, 517 brake horsepower, 1450 kilograms, and absolutely ridiculous amount of aero. It really is, kind of one of those cars, the more you look at it, the more you realize this thing is just absolutely stacked with some insane aero parts. And whilst I've absolutely loved pretty much every car of the update 1.40 7 vehicles that came along, in all honesty, I would say this is perhaps one of the coolest of the bunch, if not the best of the bunch, and is certainly a car that you just absolutely have to own if you're a fan of pretty much anything with four wheels and an engine. The GT3 RS is an absolute machine, and in terms of just a proper race car for the road, this is literally it. It's just absolutely incredible. So let me give you some facts on the GT3 RS. So in terms of its 0 to 60 time, it's going to absolutely propel you in 3.2 seconds, going on for a top speed of 184 miles per hour. It's a full track day spec. Even in terms of the standard GT3, the RS is producing something like triple the downforce to that. When I checked on the Porsche website, some of the facts and figures that were coming out about this car are just absolutely insane. It is fully street legal as well, which was rather quite surprising. When you just kind of take a glimpse at the car, it really does feel like it's just one of the cup cars turned into a road car. It's essentially like they've just took the livery off and then there you go. Now it's now it's available to be bought by the general public. So yeah, it's just absolutely insane that this thing is street legal, which just blows my mind how much kind of tech and race tech and aero is actually packed into this vehicle, and still somehow you can legally drive this on the road. And it does feature obviously that ridiculous DRS wing, and that is a key talking point when it comes to the aerodynamics of this vehicle. Again, you've got things like S-ducts on it, you've got vents here, there and everywhere. Just the arches and just the whole body styling of this vehicle just screams an absolute aerodynamic monster. And obviously that huge rear wing, it looks like something that is straight pulled off of one of the cup cars or the GT3 cars. It's absolutely massive, and yes, it does have a drag reduction system, so it can open itself up to obviously allow those higher top speeds and stuff on the straights. But I'd say where this car absolutely excels compared to almost anything in Gran Turismo 7 that's on offer is obviously through the corners. In terms of road car potential and just the amount of sheer grip and braking performance and cornering performance this thing gives off, it's probably one of the best cars in the game for that. It's just absolutely incredible just how good this thing is to drive. It's relatively easy, and that's not to take away from the car, don't get me wrong, it's an extremely fast car. It just shows how good and capable and I guess practical all this aero is. It might look a bit kind of in your face. It really looks a complete difference compared to the standard 992 generation, but it really is fully functional. It will really help you drive this car to its maximum potential, and I think that's what is so good about this vehicle, that although yes, it's an extremely powerful car, it has extreme aero, it looks quite aggressive and in your face, I think anyone from beginner to experienced player is going to get the most out of this car and able to absolutely push the limits with this thing. And that's why I would say this is a definitive buy it now car. It is just absolutely fantastic. Again, it was shown off as the sort of hero car of all the trailers, all the footage. It was kind of the centerpiece of the bunch, even over the likes of the LFA, which is extremely cool, and I will get around to finishing off the reviews with that vehicle. But in terms of just an absolute show of force and what cars have become and where they can really go and where the boundaries are at in terms of current day performance, the 911 GT3 RS is it's just absolutely incredible. There's no other words to just describe this vehicle. It's just absolutely insane. So obviously it's been very high praise for this car, and you may be wondering, well, is there anything actually bad about this vehicle? And I would actually go on to say no, not really. I mean, if we want to be nitpicky, there's not much in terms of customization options, but that's kind of to be expected. This car already feels like it's been turned up to the maximum, so there's no real way to get any more performance out of it. You know, you can't massively change up the vehicle, at least in terms of its styling points and stuff, but why would you want to? You know, this is how most of our fully modified cars end up looking anyway, with, you know, insane aero on them, diffusers, you know, as much downforce as possible, and you don't actually have to go out your way and do that for this car. So if I'm being nitpicky, that's perhaps the only downside of this vehicle, or only critical point I've got about it. But for me personally, I really wouldn't want to go ahead and change much on this vehicle. Now, in terms of the Nordschleife lap, obviously we're using the standard version here, so this is exactly how it leaves the dealership. So when it actually came to the Nordschleife lap itself, I was kind of expecting maybe a few little faults with the car, a few things that I might want to go ahead and dial out, but in all honesty, I wouldn't say I'd change anything about this car. I honestly felt like I was at the maximum potential I could go for the entire way through the lap. It just felt absolutely on point. The handling is superb. That aero is always feeling like it's, you know, doing something to help the car just go as fast as possible. I had the DRS wing open as much as possible. Just absolutely on the limits, and it is such a good car for almost anyone to go ahead and just absolutely, you know, hammer around the track. And in terms of the Nordschleife, it's a very difficult track. It's got so many different things. You know, you've got your long straights, you've got your mid-speed corners, your low speed, your high speed, you know, kind of, you know, you're sweeping, you know, one after the other corners, and it just felt like this car was just taking them in its stride. It really didn't feel like it was really pushing the car to the limits, whereas some other vehicles I'll take around here just feel like they're absolutely on edge in the worst way possible the entire time. But the GT3 RS just absolutely took it in its stride. And that's another car that I'm going to bring up that was a post-launch car by Porsche, and another one of those sort of extreme versions of one of their cars. Obviously the Cayman GT3, that thing was absolutely incredible. If you remember all the way back over a year ago at this point, to my review of that car, I said that is perhaps one of the best and sweetest handling road cars in the game. And it's the exact same thing here with the GT3 RS. I honestly think the Stuttgart brand, when it comes to, you know, making these kind of, you know, race cars for the road, they're just absolutely second to none. They're fantastic. They are some of the best cars in terms of their overall feel and just how they drive in GT7 in terms of road cars in the entire game. And in all honesty, you know, I do have zero complaints about this vehicle. There's just nothing bad I can say. Same as the GT4 for the Cayman. They're just absolutely fantastic. They're very capable, and yes, if you want to push them even further, you can, but in all honesty, they feel just absolutely perfectly dialed in from the get-go. So there we go. That is my review of the standard version, but if you know how these reviews work, you know I'm probably not just done at the standard version. We are going to upgrade that in a second, but we're going to head over to the Nordschleife lap time leaderboard to see how this car ranks. So it sits there on sports medium tyres, obviously a PP of 656.54, and comes overall 17th on our lap time leaderboard, so it does make the overall board with a time of 7 minutes 7 seconds .075. Just a little bit off the likes of the Audi Quattro Pikes Peak, Alfa Romeo 155, again a, you know, GT4 car. It already has beaten the likes of the Mazda 3 Group 4. It's beaten the GT3 Nismo. This thing is just absolutely incredible in terms of its potential. A fantastic vehicle, and one that any GT7 player really needs to add to their garage. So let's head over and move on to the fully modified version. So the fully modified version of this vehicle is definitely one that I'd say is a bit of an oddball. It's one of those cars that just feels so sophisticated and so, I guess, precise that it does really require you to set it up perfectly for each and every track. When you've started kind of taking away the factory settings for the vehicle, you will have to be, you know, fine-tuning this car, and that kind of led me to an issue that this car sits so low through the arches that it was constantly catching. And obviously we do our laps on the high speed ring, so I did actually have to put the ride height really high up, which just didn't help the overall performance of the vehicle. Obviously, I tried my best to avoid fine-tuning anything out, so that's really all I could do, and it did upset the overall balance of this vehicle. However, I then went to test it outside of the high-speed ring in terms of getting a proper setup for this thing, and it was just absolutely bizarre. I have never felt so comfortable with a fully modified vehicle that I have a proper setup for than I did with the GT3 RS. It's just absolutely insane. Its top speed is even faster. The DRS wing you can have open a ridiculous amount. The grip is just absolutely insane. You know, you put this thing on race tires and it really does feel like, you know, you're driving one of the cup cars. It's just absolutely incredible. Obviously, we can't see the full potential of it here at the high speed ring. Again, the big bank corners really don't work well for many of the vehicles, and this is actually the second car in this update I've actually had to put the ride height up. The other one was the 190e, that at the front it would just constantly catch, and it was the same for the Porsche here. So sadly, we're not going to see the car at its full potential, but just know, once you start fine-tuning and getting those settings dialed in for this car, this is perhaps one of the best fully modded cars in the entire game. It's just absolutely insane. So overall, it's a rather disappointing 8th place, beaten by the likes of the Nismo 400R, the F-Type, the Demon and such. But again, we've had to kind of, you know, mess with the potential of this vehicle because we had to raise the ride height up really high and not really kind of, you know, tinker with anything else. So really it doesn't give you a proper, I guess, look at what the maximum potential is for this car. However, I do think if we'd been on other tracks without the huge bankings and such, this thing would have been right up there. So the Porsche 911 GT3 RS is finally reviewed in GT7. That leaves me one more car in a few days time, which will be the Lexus LFA, and that finally completes all 7 vehicles fully reviewed. But in terms of a hero car for the update, and one that Polyphony just really wanted to push and show off, this is a fantastic addition. Honestly, originally I couldn't see too much of the hype with bringing the 992 generation of Porsche in. I just expected us to get the standard one and that would be it. But the fact that we got the GT3 RS in its full ridiculous aero glory has just, you know, kind of given me a massive appreciation for this vehicle. I genuinely think this is a car that any GT7 player needs to buy and needs to experience. It's a fantastic machine. Let me know what you guys think down below, and we'll move on to the final vehicle, being the LFA, in a few days time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.